Good morning everybody, and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall and Districts. And today is an unexpected bonus video. It was a video I was hoping to make, but it was a bit of an unexpected bonus because I just wasn't expecting to do it with the way the post is at the moment. So I hope everyone's keeping well, and since we're on the subject of the coronavirus, that is kind of almost like the subject of today's video, in the sense that just before all this coronavirus kicked off, I literally had just bought the Javelin. And so I'll give you some R numbers and then we'll go through it in a bit more detail. So this is the Hornby train pack, and this is the Javelin Visitor Centre train pack. Now I should say to you, I'll give you the R number for this one. This is R3813, and the train pack that goes with this particular set is that set there, and that R number is R4999. Now I should tell you that the train pack comes in 3 sets, and you get the, I think it's the Hornby train set pack, which is the Blue Rapier set, which is like a 3-car, I believe it's a 3-car unit, and it doesn't actually have the official Southeastern High Speed branding on the side. I think it's called Intercity Express or something like that. So that's like the basic kind of railroad version of it all. And then there's also another pack which is very similar to this, which is called Sir Steve Redgrave, and obviously it's named after the athlete Sir Steve Redgrave. And that particular set is also a 4-car set, just like this, except that is actually DCC fitted. This particular set, the Visitor Centre, is actually DCC ready. So if you don't fancy mucking about with trying to open these things up and just have one already DCC fitted, then if you buy this Steve Redgrave one, that is actually DCC fitted already. However, that being said, that's been out for a little while now, and that's actually, so this is the newest variant of the Javelin. I don't know if you can still get them, but I have seen one on eBay and it's actually going for more than what the new version is of the Hornby Visitor Centre. So I'll give you a bit of a backstory for it. Basically, a lot of us will model railways just for the sake of the hobby, and we just enjoy modelling. And a lot of us will probably model eras that we're familiar with or that we grew up with, and some it's just about memories. And sometimes you just buy trains just because you like them and you just want to run them on your layout. Now the case in point for the 395 Javelin is actually a memory, and a very good memory at that. For those of you who haven't seen it, last year I went to Folkestone Harbour and to the Model Railway exhibition with my good friend Dave, also known as Rails. And that journey has stuck with me for some time. And I have to say, we had a fantastic day out, fantastic company. He's a great guy, and we had good fun that day. But the Javelin itself was absolutely immense. The journey was absolutely brilliant, and it was a superb ride. And I would highly recommend a ride on the 395 Javelin. It is older than the 800, which is now, it's, you know, the 395 is a predecessor to the 800. My own personal view is that I actually think that the 395 is better than the 800 in terms of its comfort, its ride quality and its speed. It's the fastest train in Britain, and this year it's celebrated 10 years of being in service. Sorry, last year. It's 2019. So they were introduced in 2009, and last year they celebrated 10 years. And so what they've done is they've put 10 years of service on the side of their EMU units. And the plan was before the whole coronavirus, was for me to get to Ramsgate. Actually, they're based in Margate, but you have to travel to Ramsgate to go to the Hornby Visitor Centre. And I was going to travel on the 395 Javelin and make a big day out of it and do a video on it. Unfortunately, as many of you will know, just as I bought this and had planned and set out to go to the Hornby Visitor Centre, this whole coronavirus kicked in, and then that all went to pot, quite frankly. And the Javelin has been sitting in a box ever since. And I really wanted to run it, and I really wanted to get sound, but obviously due to the current climate, I wasn't sure whether or not how the money situation was going to work out, but I still wanted to run it. So what I decided to do is order a few chips online. So I did that, and I've been waiting for them for ages and ages and ages. And funnily enough, yesterday I was talking to Alan over at Dragon Junction after his stream, and at the very end of the conversation that I had with him, I actually said to him that I was still waiting on a few bits, and one of them was the footbridge, and which I still haven't seen yet, for Bodillan Gardens. And the other thing that I was also waiting on was the chips for this Javelin that I'd ordered. And as I put the phone down on him and we finished our conversation, and I went down to pop downstairs, I opened the mailbox, and by some coincidence or quirk of fate, the chips had arrived after a whole week of waiting for post. I hadn't seen any post of any description for a week, and they were there. So I decided that I was going to watch a film last night, and in the course of watching the film, I decided that I wanted to actually take the train pack out and have a look at it to try and work out the instructions about how to fit the decoders into them. And it turns out that I ended up fitting them. So my intention was to actually record opening the bodies and actually fitting them, but I just got into it and I ended up fitting them last night. So I'm going to take you over there and show you exactly what the 395 Javelin is all about. Now, the decoders I fitted, they're both exactly the same. You need two, and don't be put off by having to buy two chips for it. And basically you need two because of the directional lighting. So one goes at one end and one goes at the end, because there's no electrical connections between the coaches. But don't be put off by having to buy two chips. And the reason why I say that is I've bought some expensive chips, and quite frankly, I haven't been overly impressed with them. I'm not exactly sure what the difference is between buying a chip that costs, I don't know, 20 odd quid, and one that costs, as I did in this instance, paid £10. I paid £10 for a chip, so I bought two chips for the price of one, essentially. I know the Batman chips are about £20. I've spent that before, and I know that Hornby chips are roughly around similar sort of mark. And it also obviously depends where you shop. You might be able to get it a few quid cheaper, depending on where you go. So for £20, I managed to get two basic chips for my Javelin. Now, for me personally, if I'm not going to put sound into a locomotive, all I need it to do is to make sure it runs on DCC and that the lights work on it. And 8-pin chips, there isn't much in the way of functions in the lighting. It's just either on or off. So, there's no point buying expensive chips. And I've had problems with expensive chips, and I bought these two, and they're both Lay's DCC decoders. And like I said, I paid £9.50 each, so it cost me £19 in total for 2 decoders, and she seems to work fine. The only thing I need to do on it is adjust the CV settings on it, because at the moment, that's something I haven't done. At the moment, it's just literally stop and start. So I just need to adjust the acceleration and deceleration values on it I need to adjust the acceleration and deceleration values in order to just make it a little bit more smooth on acceleration and deceleration. So without further ado, let me take you over there and show you the actual 395 Javelin on the track. So I'll see you on the other side. Toodaloo. So here she is, the Class 395 Javelin, and it's absolutely, I think it's absolutely awesome. I really do. It's not really a review is what I'd say that I'm doing. It's just my overall impressions of it, because there's a saying, one man's drink is another man's poison, and just because I like it, it doesn't mean somebody else will. But my first impression of it was absolutely just, I was wow, because when I originally looked at this, I was very skeptical about buying this because I had heard that originally the original ones, I'm not sure if it was a Blue Rapier set or whether it's a Steve Redgrave set, basically didn't have any pulling power, and it wasn't very good, and it just wheel slipped and constantly wheel slipped, and it just didn't have any power, and it didn't look very good. So before I bought this, I'd actually looked at it and took it out of the box, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, yes, I really do want this. It looks the part. Let's hope that the running gear is a lot better than on the earlier versions. And I had questioned it because obviously the earlier versions got slated because they couldn't, basically because they didn't run properly. They kept wheel slipping and everything. But the fact that they were bringing out coach packs, additional coaches for it to make the full set, made me realise and made me think, well, maybe they've improved the motor on it, because otherwise it wouldn't be able to pull the additional 2 coaches as well as the coaches that it comes with. And so I ended up buying it. So let's just sort of take a look at this in sort of closer detail. So I'm going to use my hand for this bit. So it might be a bit shaky, but this is just so I can take you down the train and show you it then rather on the tripod, because it's a bit more tricky. So if I just show you the front of the train. And we'll just slowly go down the train. And you can see the pantograph on the top. Now the pantographs are very, very fragile, and we'll get onto that in a little while, but for now I'll just take you down the train so you can actually see it. And at the moment this is its train pack configuration, just the 4 coaches as it comes. Now as you can see, this is the dummy end, and the reason why you can tell that is that you've got the little yellow markers on the end of it, and I'll show you what I mean. You see here it's just plain blue. On the other end, the driving car end, you've got the yellow markers on it. So I'll just take you down there so I can just demonstrate that to you. So as you can see, you've got the little yellow markers on the end. That tells you it's the motor car. The powered end. It's only powered on one end. And there's two decoders, and the decoders are mounted in the roof. So they're mounted about there. They're literally directly behind the light there. There's a PCB board just on the top. And it's the same on the dummy end. Now, something I didn't know, because I did the dummy end first, is I took the blanking plate off of it and I fitted the decoder according to the blanking plug, not according to what it said on the board for the number 1 pin. So what happened is when I tried to get the lights to work, it wouldn't work, and it turned out that it was the other way around, that on the dummy car, that the decoder is reversed. And this is obviously for the directional lighting to make sure that they work in the same way. So that's something to bear in mind, because I've never really done this before. I was a bit kind of worried about putting a decode two different chips and programming them both at the same number, and wasn't sure how the directional lighting was going to work. But it turns out the one in the dummy car is actually reversed. So the chips, to get to the chips, so I'm just going to show you there, bear with me a minute. So in order to fit the chips, and I'm going to zoom you in a little bit. There you go. You can see that there's a line here. And basically, what you have to do is put your 2 fingers over the body and gently squeeze it to release the clips, and then you slide it out. But in order to do that, you need to lift up this little section so you don't rip the pantograph up and all the rest of it. But that's very easy. It comes up very easily. It's not glued, or it's not tricky to get out. I found that these two just popped up very, very easily, so you can remove it. Now on the dummy car, it's actually slightly different. Oh, on the power car, it's slightly different, because the coupling has actually got a screw underneath. And that screw, if I just, let me just see if I can just show you. I'll just pull this out slightly. That's it. I don't really like pulling these things apart, but as you can see, the couplings are vertical, like NEM couplings, except they're vertical, not horizontal. And if you can see that, you've got the screw there. Now, on the dummy car, you don't have that screw, and you can just slide this out. But in order to slide this one out, you need to take the coupling off, and then you slide this back piece out, and then you just drop the body from the back end. But the thing is, you have to be really careful when you pop it in, because you have to get the lighting unit to sit correctly in the front, and that's where the tricky bit comes in, is actually trying to line it up at the front. So you've got to put the front in before you put the back in. But like I said, it takes this is the full coach set. I'm not going to bother plugging that back in, because I'm going to probably add the other 2 coaches so you can see it running. And it runs a treat. Now you have to be a bit careful when you handle it and take the body off, because one of the bits on the pantograph did actually come off. I glued it back on. It's not a big deal at the end of the day. It still works. The pantograph does pop up, but it is non-working. And basically it runs off of the pantograph, and it also runs off the shoes, 3rd rail. So you've got that option as well. If you do model 3rd rail, you can use it on that. So that's how they run, how they pick up the electricity. And it's a real fine model. And like I said, for the money, you cannot argue for the money. It's absolutely a superb unit. Like I said, it is a bit fiddly putting the decoders in, but you know, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But there you go, that's That's the Javelin right there. So I'm going to add the other 2 coaches, and I'll show you the train pack that I got for it, the coach pack. So that's the coach pack there, to get an extra 2 coaches. Now, I think it's exceptional value for money, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. And like I said, I've got the 2 additional coaches here to go with it. So I'm going to add them on, and then I will show you back on the layout. So just to demonstrate to you one of the coaches, as you can see, it's nicely sealed here just to protect the sides. So you just take the tape off and you just remove the body. But as you can see, the couplings, there's a male and a female end. And it just slots into that. It's lovely detail on the back. Like I said, they slot in vertically. It's like an M coupling, but a vertical version. And on the other end, you've got the plug. And that's how it's all connected. But there's no, like as you can see, there's no electrical connection between any of them, which is why you need the two decoders in order to run the lighting on this thing. So here you can now see that I've coupled all 6 coaches. It's the full length of the rake in reality. So we'll just give this a little bit of a test and see how she gets on. Now I have to say I haven't actually run her in properly, but she absolutely glides. She was gliding before with the 4 coaches. It's just that coming around again. Like I said, she hasn't had any run time really. Absolutely beautiful. It's a stunning, stunning EMU set. And she's absolutely gliding along. She's not stuttery at all. Here she comes again. So just before we go, I just thought we'd sort of do a little bit of maths and draw some conclusions as to the Hornby 395 Javelin. Now, I paid £143 for this. and this is from my local model shop, and this is brand new. I bought it. I paid £72 for the 2 additional coaches, which gives us £215, and a further £20, giving us a grand total of £235 for the 2 chips that is required. So for £235, you get a full 6-coach Hornby Javelin train, which in my opinion is immaculate. It's absolutely superb train, it really is. I'm looking at it right now and I'm just thinking, wow, that is a superb train. And in fact, what I'll do is I'll spin you around just so you can see it in its glory. So here she is in her full glory, full 6-coach train, and I think for £235 that I paid all in, I think it's an absolutely amazing value, and you get a lot of train for your money, and it is very high quality train. I like it a lot. I know it's had its criticisms, but this particular version, I can't really find anything wrong with it. And you know, the only thing you might say is that the pantographs are a bit on the flimsy side, but in reality I'm not really going to use the pantographs. You probably could add a shade of metallic paint to the pantographs just to give it that extra bit of realism if you really wanted to. But she performs really, really well. She glides along. She doesn't have any trouble. She's actually pushing, not pulling. So, you know, she's doing well just pushing along with no problems at all. So, you know, I think personally it is a great train and fantastic value for money. When you compare the fact that my Batman 158 would have been 220, 230 for a 2-car unit, non-sound fitted, it just goes to show you the kind of range in price and what you can get. I think this is absolutely brilliant value for money, and it's a fantastic set. And if you haven't been on the real thing, then you don't know what you're missing, because it's an absolutely superlative train to ride in reality, and it is just absolutely awesome train. And I can't wait that once this whole coronavirus is over and done with, then hopefully I will be able to get back onto this train and head to Hornby's Visitor Centre like I intended to. So, in conclusion, I really would recommend it. I think, like I said, it's great value for money. You get a lot of train for it. It runs really, really well. It looks absolutely superb. And for me personally, the actual additional memory that I had travelling on this particular train just brings back a lot of fond memories of my day out with my good friend Rails in Folkestone. So until the next time will be a layout update. I hope you've enjoyed this and some of the running shots. And like I said, until the next time, it's bye from Mildenhall and Districts. Bye for now.